Welcome to Beantown Fantasy Football. It's Week 8. This is the quarterback edition. We're without the services of BG and Ace Wonder this week yet again, but hopefully they'll be back with us for Week 9. With me is Mark Fury. I'm the Jager. Let's get started. Quarterback, who do you like?
I like David Garrard going against the Tennessee Titans. It's really hard to not like this guy this week. The Titans are giving up a staggering 310 yards a game through the air. That's just atrocious. They might have Cortland Finnegan back, but it's probably not going to make that much of a difference because he'll probably be less than 100% anyway, even if he does play.
Sure.
The last time these two teams met, Garrard put up 323 yards and 3 touchdowns. 2 of them to Mike Sims-Walker, who's going to be ready to go this week as well. I mean, it could be a huge game for Garrard. He probably won't get 323 and 3 again, but he can be pretty close to 300 yards, and I look for him to score at least twice.
I think that's a pretty good recommendation right there on Garrard. I mean, Sims-Walker click. You have some good chemistry, some good numbers. Who are you not liking, though, in Week 8?
I'm telling you, this week I really don't like Eli Manning. The last couple of weeks he struggled. He started the season off playing really well, some of the best football of his career, except for maybe that playoff run a few years ago. But he's come back down to earth yet again. This week he's going against a tough Philadelphia secondary, and I just don't like him this week. I don't think he can beat these corners. The receivers are still inexperienced. Smith is very good, but Manningham's questionable. He's leading the league in drops. And he's really got nothing else. Bradshaw's banged up. Jacobs isn't really running as well as he used to be. I'm sitting Eli Manning. There are better options out there, even on this week with a bunch of buys that could hurt you.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sitting on a lot of Giants receivers, too, and I'm looking at low numbers, potentially. And
I feel safe with Smith, but I don't like any other ones. Maybe Hakeem Nicks, but he's still kind of questionable because he's not the starter yet. So
Smith is going to start drawing that double coverage, though. I mean, I think we've already seen it a couple in games in the past. I think that could open up opportunities for Mario Manningham to start doing better. He started out hot a few weeks ago, kind of died down a bit, but I agree.
Yeah, Eli's been getting it to him, but he hasn't been holding on to the ball, and that's another reason why I don't really like Eli this week. Manningham's got to step his game up if Eli's going to be a top-level fantasy quarterback again.
All right, so say no to Eli Manning going into Week 8. Well, what I'm liking this week is the fact that, all right, Tom Brady is out, Ben Roethlisberger's out, Carson Palmer's out. You really need some help going into this bye week. This is kind of tricky. And I'm going to recommend somebody this week that I might never recommend again, and that is going to be Mark Bulger of the St. Louis Rams. It kind of kills me to say it, but they are going against the Detroit Lions in the toilet bowl there. And, it's kind of the battle of the worst, but I think that Bulger, high risk, high reward, going into Detroit, who's given up over 1,500 yards to, wide receivers and quarterbacks so far this season. I have no problem starting Mark Bulger at all. Donnie Avery looks good. There could be some chemistry. I'd say he'd be good for my deuce pick this week, 202 scores.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid projection. I could see him being right around 200 yards. Detroit's defense is just plain awful. The Rams haven't been much better on offense except for Steven Jackson, who's been just absolutely amazing despite not scoring a touchdown. But Bulger's been making a couple of throws. Avery's starting to come around. And if you're in a deeper league and you really need a quarterback this week, you could do a lot worse than Bulger, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And speaking of doing a lot worse than Bulger, there is a guy that's going to be doing perhaps a lot worse than Bulger, and it pains me to say this but go ahead and sit Matty Ice, Matt Ryan, whose Falcons are going into the no man's land of the New Orleans Superdome against a team that is just red hot. I mean, they're just really cooking on all cylinders. They do only have they rank their pass defense ranks 13. Not spectacular, but they've only allowed 5 passing touchdowns throughout the season, and I don't think that bodes well for Matt Ryan at all. He's going to have to keep up with Drew Brees and that high-scoring machine in New Orleans. They should put up big numbers, and I just don't see him being able to do it. So I'd go ahead and sit Matt Ryan.
I don't like Matt Ryan this week either. I mean, sure, the Saints defense is middle of the road for yardage against the pass, but they lead the league in interceptions. Interceptions are going to hurt you even if Ryan puts up an average day with yardage-wise. This Falcons offense is really struggling. Turner's not running the ball as well as he did last year.
No.
Gonzalez has kind of disappeared the last couple of weeks. Roddy White's the only one who's really been consistently playing well the last couple of weeks. I'd say sit Matt Ryan if you can afford to do so.
Absolutely, and even if they do hand off to Turner, like I said, I don't see a big game out of Turner. Actually, New Orleans ranks 8th against the run, and you're gonna hand off, can't pass. Absolutely, sit Matt Ryan.
Since Turner's come to Atlanta, he hasn't been able to run well against the better teams. Last year, he racked up all of his yardage against poor defenses.
I'll call it a sophomore slump in Atlanta. Maybe they'll turn around. All right, well, something else we have this week are questions from the fans. We've put that out there, the web address at Gmail at the end of the show. We have a question this week. Comes from Andrea. Her question is, going into week 8, should I play Jay Cutler, who has a much better matchup, or Matt Ryan? Thank you. Well, I think this is kind of a no-brainer here for us, as we just recommended sitting Matt Ryan. But why don't you explain why Jay Cutler is such a favorable matchup this week?
Well, Jay Cutler, believe it or not, has put up similar fantasy numbers than Matt Ryan. He does have a lot more interceptions, but he's throwing for more yardage. He has the same amount of touchdowns. He's actually, in ESPN standard format, he's got 3 more points than Matt Ryan on the season. So it's kind of a toss-up with all things equal, but going against Cleveland, it's a much safer play than Matt Ryan going against New Orleans. New Orleans is all over the ball this year, and Cleveland just isn't even close. Cleveland had an awful defense, and Jay Cutler's going to air it out, and I expect Chicago to win big, especially after being embarrassed by the Bengals last week.
I agree totally. Well, we appreciate the question, and hopefully our viewer will win big this weekend. That has been Beantown Fantasy Football, Week 8, Quarterback Edition. Thanks for watching. For Mark Fury, I'm the Jaker. We'll see you next episode.